the extent of your powers, little one. Now you will watch me draw upon the power of the universe to send the child into the netherworld. Now place it on the altar.
Hello everybody, welcome to RPG Boons, The Witching Hour. We're cutting it close today, almost out of the witching hour, but we're on time. I mean, we made it. This is RPG Boons, The Witching Hour. We're gonna do our Age of Ruin solo play along series. Basically, you develop a character. We can take you on a quick adventure. It shouldn't take more than 30 minutes. The very first part is always the intro to how to create a character, because I gotta assume you're showing up here for the first time, and so therefore you might need a way to develop your character, create your character so you can play along. So I'm going to timestamp it as always in the title, and this will allow you to get to the exact point in the video where you can actually start playing. So again, witching hour, we do this during the witching hour because that's when supernatural things happen. Let me know if you see something weird. I'll let you know if I see something weird. Now, let us begin the Age of Ruin solo play along series. So, Age of Ruin and Exploration solo play along series. So the first thing we want to do is do character creation. Okay, so if you have played Dungeons and Dragons, any version, Shadowdark is going to be very familiar to you. And Shadowdark is basically a hybrid of first edition and fifth edition. It's very much has all the lethality of first edition, but has incorporated some of those 5e mechanics to kind of streamline the game. So first thing we need to do is we need to create a character for you. So I have in the description, I'll put all these links. Everything I'm going to show you here is in the links in the description box. So first, we're going to go to shadowdarklings.net/create. This will allow us to create a random character or generate it depending on how much time you have. But I'm going to show you a very quick generation. But if you want to spend a little more time to really customize your character, you can do that. So it's really nice because it incorporates the different scrolls, and all the different scrolls on the arcane library have different, probably I think 2 to 3, maybe 4 additional classes that you can use for Shadowdark. But just to kind of keep it simple, I'm going to uncheck all the scrolls, and we're going to basically focus on the 4 main classes for Shadowdark, just to kind of get things going much faster. But again, you can explore all this as long as you need or want to before you start the solo adventure games. So first thing you do, you get to this web page. You hit random 1, hit best fit, and then you can just hit generate character. In this case, it chose a wizard. You can be a wizard in this game. Typically, is melee, but you can do definitely spell attacks from a distance, right, to kind of keep yourself away. Most likely, and in this game specifically today, I am going to allow some henchmen to kind of help you to make sure you don't die because of the lethality of the game. So a wizard could be okay. And in theory, this should generate a good fight fit for you for depending on the class that you chose. Now, I really want to be, well, let's just say I'm going to stick with the wizard. But let's say I don't want to be a wizard. I can actually go down here to where it says class wizard and select any one of the 4 primary. Now, if you had the scrolls, you're going to have a bigger list, but here's the primary 4 classes from the core rules book. If you're also unhappy with these scores, you can also just hit the refresh button. You see it disappeared. Generate random character. This time we got an acolyte. This time we got a kobold seer. Well, I noticed that it hit the scrolls. I'm going to do this again. Let me hit the generate. And actually, I just realized you don't have to refresh. If you actually just keep clicking the generate random character, it'll create the random character for you. It keeps on clicking these. Now, I don't know. Did I just unclick that witching hour? I'm telling you. I'm going to hit generate random character, halfling ranger. I'm not sure why it's choosing. Anyway, think it's the witching hour. Halfling ranger, halfling thief. You can keep hitting this up until you get the class that you want, right? So half priest, bard, kobold, ranger, human wizard. Let's go ahead and just stop at ranger. So let's say I choose ranger. The next thing we want to do is level up our characters. We don't want them to be weak because, like I said, Shadowdark is tough, and I've mentioned in the past, most games actually have humanoids out in the wild that you can fight at 2 to 3 hit dice, which means they're 2 to 3 levels. So it doesn't hurt to have your character start at level 2 or 3 or 4, even 5. I'm going to assume you've been playing along. Let's say you've been playing along, and even if you haven't, today we're going to start at level 4, right? So I mentioned this before. I wish this was a drop down, but you actually just have to give your character XP. Well, okay, that's fine. So I'm going to gain level 2. Then I'm going to give myself more XP. It's glitching a little, but that's okay. Level 3, so I'm gaining level 3. And then I'm going to give myself another 30 experience points because we want to be level 4 this time. And in fact, I think as I play along these series, I'm going to take it all the way to level 10. And then go back down to like level 2 or 3 after that. And again, these are... you can play at any time, but I really want to look at all the different levels, play with the different levels, and so forth. So I'm going to gain to level 4. Now I can roll those hit points. It automatically loads them for you. Roll for hit points. It does a random roll for your talents. I mentioned before, I really like ranged attacks for my characters because I like them to take a few shots before something gets close. Get those hit points. And you can see, these are other things you can think about. Now, these hit points are pretty low. I like to give, in most cases, most of my players a hit die, the average hit die at minimum. So in this case, I believe his hit die is a D8. So a 5 is typically what you call the average. So 5 times, well, actually, it falls in within the average. So 5 times 4 is 20, so 21. I guess this is acceptable, so we'll leave them at 21 hit points. And once you're happy with what you got, so again, if you want to spend a lot of time customizing, you can. You hit PDF. It shows the download. You can open that. This guy's name is Troll. This is a ranger. And now you can see here. If you can't see this, it's because the quality of your video is low. So you can always increase the quality so you can be able to read these small text. But if you don't want to create a character and you just want to play along with whatever I've generated here, you can pause the phone, take a screenshot, and play along. I still have Thorn here from our last session. He was 1 less level, but so if you want, you can add he was a fighter, you can add another die of hit points for him. But you can also use Thorn here if you're interested in doing that. Now, for our game, we're going to be using the 2-point action system. And I wanted to point this out that on Don Franco 3 Games, the RPG Boons tab, I have a character sheet that has the 2-point combat action system on the character sheet, showing, all the different moves that you can do. There is a video, and I'll put that in the description if you want to watch the whole 2-point combat action system, how it works. But in that video, they used the low level. I chose the low level setting for the 2-point action system, but here we're going to use the medium level magic system. And so what we're looking at here is it's 2 points. You start always with 2 points, and at the end of your turn, once you use your 2 points, you regain those 2 action points back. Okay, so we're looking at here is the primary maneuvers that you have in Shadowdark, which is move, melee, and spellcast. Those all cost 1 point. If you want to take your second move, which is pretty standard in Shadowdark, you can do that. But what makes the 2 action point system a little bit different is you can do a little bit more with that second part of your action, right? So rather than just being forced to attack and move or move, in the 2-point action system, you can take a second attack. And in this medium level of magic setting, you can take a second spell cast. Now, the only downside is that if you're taking a melee attack it's -3 penalty to the attack, not just melee, a ranged attack as well. If you're spell casting, it has to be a tier 1, level 1. Here, let's go ahead and move to this other page here because I have it all listed here. So it has to be level 1, tier 1, a cantrip. I've also shown here on the side, I have all these different systems, so I looked them all up and looked through their magic spells. The 2-point combat action system is usable for Shadowdark, D&D 1E, 2E, BX, Back Me, Old School, Essentials, Castle Grade, Sagaborn, and just the basic rules is in order for you to cast that second spell, it has to be a cantrip tier 1. If you're playing Sagaborn, the magic mana is going to cost 0 or 1 point to use. And the other thing is that, or it has to be level 1. Like if you have no cantrips in your system, it's a level 1 spell you can cast for the second of spell. The only thing is that it has to be a single targeting spell. This is a way to balance the system. It has to be able to only target one person, and it can be incapacitating, which means it can be a buff or something like that. But if you're casting darkness, that's going to incapacitate another player or monster's ability to see, so you can't cast a spell like that. In addition, I brought back the reaction block, which is all the way playable since Chainmail. So Chainmail had a -2 to the penalty to the attacker if you wanted to block, and then you would just lose your action on your turn. But in this 2-point action system, I allow you to add your dexterity modifier. If you're proficient with the weapon that you're using, you can add a dexterity modifier with that. And the other thing I added is the dive reaction. So Shadowdark is pretty lethal. I did play the ogre followed me home, and unfortunately I got crushed on the wall at the very end. The ogre got a nat 20. I died, so no bueno. But, and I wasn't able to obviously dive out of the way, so I died. But in many cases, you should be able to dive. By the way, nat 20 automatically hits, so I was dead. So you dive. This is another reaction you can take. So you remember, you have 2 points. You hold on to them till it's your turn, and they replenish as soon as your turn's over. And so if you're about to take a deadly hit and you haven't used any of your action points, or maybe you just have one left over, you can use a dive reaction. Excuse me. Okay. And there's just some rules here. Line of sight space, -5 to the attacker's attack. Now you can decide to do this after you know the result of the roll. Fall prone. And in order for you to stand back up after this dive action, it takes a point. Okay, so that's down here, miscellaneous. So to dive, it's actually going to cost you 1 point to dive, 1 point to get back up. And it's just like in those movies when those people are just trying to survive and the monster's trying to kill them with that lethal blow, and they're just diving out of the way. So it's supposed to emulate that. Now, in terms of going to diving to or jumping to a target area where it's a line of sight, it has to be empty. We have the jump here, and I created a jump calculation, so you can read that there. This is not in Shadowdark, does not have a jump statistic or a jump calculation, so I created one here. The other thing I wanted to note is that you can, in this game, you can also play using the BX, any of the Sagaborn, any of those. But I wanted to show you this fast character generator. Now, before I do that, let me show you RPG Boons, DF3 games. That's my games, and I created Monster Conquest. There's a few under development. I show them at Gen Con. Quick plug. But if you go here to the RPG Boons tab, I have all the different levels of character sheets for low, medium, or high magic, as well as some other PDFs that are useful. I have a Mentalist class for Shadowdark that I think is probably the way to go for Shadowdark 2.0, which gives you a little more options. Some 2 pillars of success, and the Hamlet we're going to be playing out of it is World's End. I need to upload the other Hamlet PDF that I have, where I have actual NPCs on it. So you can go there, our Don Franco 3 Games RPG Boons tab. It's all going to be in the description. Now, I mentioned that you can use BX characters as well. I'll try in the future maybe to look up a few other websites, but this one's really good. So if you go to fastcharacter.com, hit the D&D BX option here, it takes you to this, and now you can easily create a character. Now you can customize this a little bit, but not really. This one's pretty straightforward. I mentioned we're going to play a level 4 character. We can give XP if you want. We're going to be lawful or neutral. Don't be chaotic. They're always just too hectic, and people think it's funny and cute, but it really just disturbs your game. Don't do that. So once you do this, you can mess with your strength and use a point system, or do something like use 5e's standard array. But what we're just going to do is we're going to just click character generate. Okay. And then you can see in this case, it created a magic user. Now, I guess we could go back and I could pick my race or class. Let's say I choose fighter, and again, hit that click to create generate. We have our character sheet, the different attributes. Now, in this case, for this game, we're going to be using Shadowdark ability modifiers. That's listed here on the left. So make sure whatever those those ability scores are, make sure you use these modifiers instead. Again, go ahead and screenshot this if you need. Where am I? Here we go. So then it has a list of all your different weapons, your movements. Occasionally, I'll ask for certain types of saves. If you think it falls into one of these saves, then go ahead and do that. Otherwise, make the appropriate save based on the ability score. You got weapons, you got armor, you got damages here that you can do. Here at the bottom, it uses the Thaco system, but we're not going to do that. Again, we're going to upgrade this armor system because it says armor class 3. That's the old school style. We're going to actually turn that into the most common system, which is you have to beat the higher number. So if you have an armor class, let's look at this character sheet, an armor class of 3 of this 4th level fighter. If we go to this chart here, and again, pause the video or take a snapshot. If we go to the armor class 4 and then look down below where it says normal man, it says 16. That's what your armor class is actually going to be for this game. So a 16 is the armor class, and it's basically 20 minus whatever the listed armor class is, right? So you can go ahead and convert that, and then you'd be essentially ready to play. Okay, now the next final thing we need to look at is die roll dice. Do you have dice at hand? I should have brought it. I recently got myself a little container that you can carry dice with you at all times. But what we're going to be using is this dieharddice.com/pages/dice roller. It'll be in the description, but basically it's a virtual dice roller. So if you're on your phone, if you're not carrying that 20 inside your pocket, you can go to this virtual dice and play along as well. Now, you do need the 20-sided dice, but for some weird reason, if you don't have it, most of the DCs, if not specified, which means if I somehow forget, pretty much all the DCs are 10. Now, the reason I do this is because we want those modifiers to matter, right? One thing I can't stand is scaling, right? So the more powerful you get, the more powerful they make everything else. So what is the point of you leveling? So in this case, we're just going to do a DC 10 across the board, unless I somehow feel it needs to be scaled up. It's DC 10 at all times, in case I don't say it. And it really makes these modifiers matter. Okay, so now we have a character sheet. We maybe took our time to generate it. We're going to use a 2-point combat action system here, compatible with all these different systems. Maybe you generated a fast character. You have your virtual dice, and we're ready to play the Age of Ruin exploration and solo play along. So first, I tried this last time, it didn't work, but this time let's see if it works, and then let's start today's adventure. Ready? Go.
It has been several hundred years since the collapse of the Astoria Golden Age. A collapse caused by power and magic. The great houses have fallen. Magic knowledge has been all but lost. and all major cities have been abandoned and overrun by plant life and monsters. All that is left are barricaded small secluded hamlets, villages, and scarce towns. You are in the age of ruin. It is also the age of exploration. The few who dare leave their protected walls seek fortune, a better life, or power. Be part of the few, the bold who seek to rebuild, face the dangers, and discover of unearthed arcana. Your journey begins now.
All right, so it's been 700 years since the fall and collapse of civilization, with people meddling with magic. You are at World's End Hamlet, at the edge of known civilization, looking to explore, looking for treasures, looking to get out of boredom. And it all starts here at the Hamlet. Now, if this is the first time here, you've come through the gates, they've checked you out, they made sure you're okay, you're not there to kill or hurt anybody, at least they think you're not there to kill or hurt anybody. Let's use it more again. You enter the town, you get to know the people. This is the town inn. There is a magistrate / mayor. He controls pretty much everybody. Most of the town folk are essentially always carrying weapons, so it's not like a standard village. Almost everybody here looks like they've been trained to use some type of weapon. Magic, like I said, has been was a problem in the past and just being rediscovered. So you don't really see a lot of magic users. So if you are a wizard, people do kind of look at you a little weird. But in general, people come here. Up north, mountains and forests, known giants and ogres in that direction. South is a little bit less known. Maybe a sea is known to exist down there, or some type of body of water. You are from the west, from a small, tinier village that's barricaded, but now you're here at West End, World's End. And you come to town, you get to know a fellow local swordsman. And for the last couple of days, you guys are talking about maybe going on an adventure, checking out East. East is where most of the ancient civilizations, the big ones, are and collapsed. So a lot of ruins, a lot of undiscovered castles, dungeons, and whatnot. So you're here in the market, and actually you decide to go to the pub and have a few drinks with this guy. And you guys are just friends, and you're drinking beer. It's getting dark. It becomes nighttime. You've knocked back several beers. You in the market. The market is essentially a 24-hour if they want. It's however long these merchants want to stay open. This is the market area. You are this H-chair, this hero. You're walking through with your buddy. All of a sudden, you need to go to the restroom. This is back in the day. So both of you pause into this alleyway, very tight between the buildings. Your partner kind of sneaks a little bit further down this way. And you both, no shame, male or female, you squat down, you stand up, you pee. And while the pee is happening, you do hear a noise. So now, first roll. I need you to roll a perception check or wisdom check. Okay. So if you got this virtual dice, you can easily roll it. I would recommend not taking the first roll. It tends to roll the exact same thing every time, a natural one. Throw it in your chest, launch it. Or hold it, shake it a little bit, and throw it. Okay, clearly I'm having really crappy rolls. I need you to make a DC 10 wisdom check. Okay, go ahead and do that. Now, if you failed, okay, this monster gets a free attack on you. What is this monster? As you hear this, well, you look over, you're making your perception check. If you make it, you see a giant centipede stabbing your friend and actually starting to eat him alive. But he appears to be completely paralyzed. Let's go and drag this guy here. Now, if you made your perception check, you don't have to worry about this part, but this centipede takes 1 bite attack at you if you failed your perception check. So he saw you first. Whatever your armor class is. 18 plus 1. So I rolled a 19. It is very likely, if you failed your perception check, that you took a bite attack. Okay? And the damage is 1d4. So I'm just going to click over here on this polyhedral symbol of the 20. Hit the floor. You take 4 points of damage plus 1, I believe. So, nope, just 4 points of damage. And I need you to make a DC 12 Constitution check. Okay? Now, go ahead and do it. Of course, this is if you failed your perception. Now, if you failed your DC Constitution check, you fall down to the floor. You're paralyzed. You see the monster turns over and starts eating your friend more. Okay, and then it grabs him and it appears to drag him through the cracks of the building and the floor. Okay, just yanks his body through. Now, if you succeeded your perception check and you didn't get a if you succeeded your perception check, which means you didn't get attacked, you, as you're looking down at your friend getting eaten, you can take 2 attacks on him. This is the 2-point action system, so you're allowed to take 2 attacks. So go ahead and place out. It's obviously a pretty weak centipede. Armor class 11. Just take 2 attacks at it. Go ahead and do that. Now, with those 2 attacks, armor class 11, you should have bonuses to your attack. You should be able to do more points of damage than hit points. Either way, if you don't kill him for some reason, bad rolling, hey, it happens to me, it gets to attack at you once with the bite, and then it gets to, if it hits, you have to take that DC Constitution save. You can roll for the centipede. Let's just assume you're okay, you're not paralyzed. If you become paralyzed, it happens like previously. If for some reason you didn't kill it, it drags the body of your friend and takes it through the crack of the wall on the floor. Okay? If it doesn't paralyze you, I'll allow you to take 2 more attacks at it. You should be able to wipe it out. But in the rare case that you don't, it actually is, at this point, it flees and runs through the cracks of the wall on the floor. Okay. You look down through the floor, the crack, it's maybe 2 feet wide. Most people probably have ignored it. You look down, you can't really see nothing, but you hear a lot of pitter patter or clicking sounds with the little arms running all over the place down there. You can't see down there. It's completely dark. It's completely dark. The centipede has dragged your friend down there. You weren't able, I know normally you'd be able to maybe make a dexterity check, but you weren't able to grab your friend. He takes him down. Or if you're able to kill the monster right away, you're able to rescue your friend from being killed. Okay? So all that happens and you don't know what to do. You actually get a few people to come. They grab your friend. They take him. You go speak with the magistrate. The magistrate says, hey, what's going on? You tell him exactly what happened with my friend, paralyzed, centipede, all that. And he says, okay, so what do you want to do? And so you're like, well, I think we should figure out what's down there. And then the magistrate says it's late, so let's not do that tonight. Let's take care of your friend, and let's just cover that hole. So everybody puts a bunch of heavy weighted things, crates, some rocks, stuff like that in that entrance area over here. And and basically people go to bed. Now I want you to make a constitution check, because you have a hard time falling asleep that night. You witnessed your friend being eaten alive by a bug. You're not feeling really good about it, and you're not able to get very good sleep that night. Okay, so I need you to make a DC 10 constitution check to see if you're able, by the way, let's sweep those, to not feel the effects the next day of your lack of sleep over the night. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Now, if you failed, you got to remember this. If you failed tomorrow, you're going to have a -1 penalty to your rolls. Okay, so just you're going to have to remember that. If you failed your constitution check, you have a -1 penalty to your constitution, to all your attack rolls, because you're sleepy. Okay, so the very next day happens. The magistrate meets up with you, gets you out of the room. He says, since this was your friend and you kind of paid the price, I need you to go down there. Your friend's currently recovering. He's in the recovery room. He's not in any shape. We can't find a healer in town, so we aren't able to help him and help him go with you. But I'm willing to send a couple of guys with you. I think based on what you told me, between you and 2 other guys, you should be able to handle this. Now, if you're a priest and you're able to, you want to spend a spell the night before to heal your friend, you can do that. That will give you 2 plus the extra friend coming down with you. Okay. And he could be part of the henchmen. They're going to help you. Now, in this case, I want you to see, it's up to you. I think it's a good idea. I want you to try to convince the magistrate that he can give you another 1d4 people to go down with you. Okay, that you don't think it's worth not being prepared to go down there. So I want you to make, in this case, the magistrate is a little reluctant, right? Because he really likes to have his men. He really likes to make sure the town is protected versus just you in this little mission. He doesn't know how dangerous it is. So he's going to make you make a DC 13. Actually, you make that a DC 15 persuasion check or charisma check. DC 15. So go ahead and do that. And if you're able to convince him, you can come to the virtual dice, roll another d4, and you get that many henchmen to come with you. Okay, if you're able to convince him. Now, this is stuff you got to keep track of for yourself. So you're gonna have 2 plus your friend if you were able to heal him the night before. So if you chose to be a priest or a wizard, somebody who can heal, that'll be 3 plus an additional 1d4 is going to go down with you if you're able to get that charisma roll. Okay. Now, the way henchmen function in this game is anytime, it's only going to be a roll between you and the monster, but anytime you take a blow, you can decide, and, I'll allow you to choose after the damage has been rolled. I'll let you decide whether or not you want to take the damage or one of your henchmen dies. Okay. That makes sense? So the very next day, you have your men, you have you with you, your men, you head back to that crack in the town market. You begin to move all those crates, move things around, and you begin to slide yourselves down into this crack. Now you can see it's completely pitch dark down there. You light a torch, and you throw a rope down there. By putting a torch down there, you can see that there's at least a 15-foot drop to the ground. It is a cave. It looks like a cave system. It looks like a room. So one person drops a torch, it falls on the floor, it doesn't burn out. In that case, your henchmen start crawling down to the hole, into the cave area. Okay, and so here you are. This is the crack. It's the daytime. Now you're down here. This represents your torchlight. What percent am I at? Let's go ahead and zoom in just a little more, maybe. There we go. All right, so you're in the cave. You have your torch. You have our henchmen. Depending on how many came with you, you're pretty crammed in there. You look forward. And down here, excuse me, it's just going to be this way. You come down here with your torch. When you get to this area here, you see that there is a huge 30-foot drop just in this area. You can see that there is a path down below, underneath, sort of like you appear to be maybe going over something that could appear to be a bridge. Okay. And you don't have a second pair of rope, and you decide to just keep going. That not sure, because it's a 30 did I say 30-foot drop? It's a 30-foot drop. Your torchlight can barely see the ground, right? Because this torch is 20 feet across plus 20 dim, so you can barely see the floor below. So you decide not to go down, and you continue to go down the path. Continue to go down the path, continue down the path. See here, and as you look over to the left, the cave ends on, I guess, to the screen's left. The cave, there's a cave wall here, but on the screen's right, there's a huge drop in a huge cavern. You can't see the bottom. So after coming down, you see it starts declining, going downward. On the left again of the screen, it's completely blocked off. You get here, and you can see where you are. Okay. As you get here, you can see that there's a path to go up, and there's a path to go right. Now, because again, it has to be a little railroady because we're, playing in vivo, virtual. We're gonna make a quick roll to decide whether you go left or if you go right. I'm gonna first pull this out, but then I'm gonna re-roll it a couple times, and then I'll make on the third roll will be the official roll. So let me go ahead and pull out my 20. Let me just kind of shake it a little bit. Let's put it in here. And then the reason I'm gonna roll it another time is because I just want to make sure this thing is working properly. So here, if you go low is left, high is right. So you decide to go right. Okay, you decide to go right. And as you continue to go right here, I want you to make, well, actually, you don't need to make anything. Now I'm going to try to, I had some maps that I didn't have who the creators were. So I do want to feature people's actual maps, and I want to give them props. This map is from Dungeon Mapster. So a shout out to Dungeon Mapster for the map. You go through here. It's a very narrow passage. And as you're going up this area, you start seeing these really huge globular looking things. Now, I want you to make a perception check. DC 10. Actually, don't make a perception check. Make that an intelligence check. If you are a background in the wilderness or a ranger of some kind, something that has to do with wilderness and animals and outdoorsy kind of background or class, I want you to have advantage on a DC 10 check. If you succeed from this distance, you can tell you're looking at what appears to be eggs, something you've seen in the past in small form from bugs, but here they're pretty massive. They're I might have drawn them a little bit too big here, but we're gonna say they're about 2 to 3 feet big. Big old eggs. And they, yeah, if you failed, you have no idea what these are. Okay. And at this point it gets a little tough, but go ahead and you can decide what do you want to do with those eggs. You can, if you want, you can take 2 attacks with your 2-point action system, or if you failed, or you're just curious and you want to walk up and take a closer look, you can. Okay, so I'll allow 2 attacks if you want, or you walk up. So go ahead and take those 2 attacks. With that being said, what is the statistics? We have that here. You can see it's a very low armor class. And lots of hit points though. So you get 2 attacks, you can cast a spell. It has to be, we'll consider this a single target, even though it's going to be, it is kind of technically a swarm. It's a single target. Oh, my voice is burning a little. Now, if you didn't, either case, so even if you attacked or you didn't get a good intelligence check and you approach this, then immediately these eggs burst open and all these little larvae come out. Okay, all these little larvae come out of this. In fact, these are a little too big. There we go. All these little larvae come out and they begin to attack you. So they're going to take, I hope you were able to attack them. So there's 3 bite attacks, okay? So I'm going to do the virtual attacks on you with these little guys. They go... And let's just take this die here and shake it up. 1, thank God. 1 bite misses. 15 plus 1, 16. And a 4. 16 and a 4. I believe it's a D4 damage. And it's a 4 points of damage. Oh my God, I'm rolling pretty good on damage. So you take 4 points of damage and you need to make a DC Con 12 test. Now, if you take the damage, you have to make the roll. Otherwise, you let this happen to one of your henchmen, okay? All right, so that's where you have to decide. That 4 points of damage. And by the way, those henchmen just have 1 hit point, so they die if they take the hit. You don't have to worry about the paralysis roll. Okay. Now at this point, I can't do much except for allow you to let the attack go through. You do your 2 attacks. They attack you 3 times. And for every attack that they get, or every blow that they get, you have to decide, do you take the damage? And if you take the damage, you have to make the Constitution check. Or does your henchman. Okay, so you can pause the video right here and finish out this combat. 18 hit points, shouldn't take too long. But once you're able to clear and you have your henchmen left over, whatever hatchlings did not hatch, you decide to just destroy them, toss them over the cliff and whatnot. At the same time, you're like, okay, I want you to make a DC 10 perception check. You start hearing, at the end of this combat, you start hearing large clicking sounds and lots of click, 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 like that these feet are, something's coming in your direction in this cave. And so I want you to make a perception check. DC 10. If you succeed, you see another giant centipede, much bigger than one you saw last night, run up this crack here from the below in the darkness and run to the corner of this wall here. Okay. If you failed, you didn't see it. Okay. And as you approach this here, you start to move forward with your henchmen. It's a really thin path. Let's grab this. Uh-oh. Where is... One second, guys. 1 second. We need to... I know I have this guy here. I think it's just a little bit out of line of sight. I don't want to pull this. Here we go. A giant centipede, much bigger than the other one you saw the night before, is at the corner of this wall. Okay. And this is, of course, if you had a perception check, you see it. And this is going to allow you to take some attacks at it. Okay. So if you saw it, you get to take 2 attacks at this much bigger centipede in the corner of this wall, just hanging there. If you failed your perception check, this centipede, while it's holding its body against the wall, lunges forward and tries to hit you and knock you over the wall. So rather than me making a hit attack, I want you to make either a strength or dexterity check, DC 10, to see if you get knocked into the abyss over here. All right, so going to make that DC 10. If you are by yourself and for some reason all your henchmen are dead, which is likely to happen, you fall to your death. I'm sorry. Game over for you. If you have henchmen, you got to choose. It could be your beer buddy. He gets chucked into. If he's the last one left, we'll say your beer buddy is the last man standing out of all the henchmen. So he gets chucked, or if you're alone, you get chucked, or throw a henchman down the drain. Then I want you to proceed to, again, just go through an attack against this guy. He has the same things as before, except he has much higher armor class. So this female, I keep saying he, but it's a she, has a much stronger armor, harder shell, more hit points, does the same attack, still has that poison. And so I need to just combat this and to see if you survive. Look, if you die, you die. And the very next adventure is just going to actually probably start right after this. If you survive, or you can decide to run. Okay, so if you want to make if you're about to die, you need to get out of here. You need to make a dexterity check and just run out of this area. You go back the way you came, probably, because you don't want to go a different route. You're not sure this is exactly where this is. You could assume it's where the other path was, but I'm going to say you can run away. So DC 10 dexterity check to escape and run away. And you can do this with the henchman as well, so it's up to you. Now, if you survive, so go ahead and make all those checks. Kill the matriarch centipede. If you killed and you have you and a few henchmen left, you explore this area. As you continue to walk this way, you realize that down this way is where the original path was breaking off. But if you go this way, you start seeing that bridged area where you were previously. When you first got in here, you saw a 30-foot drop. You notice that you are about 30 foot down. And as you continue, you get to this other area, which is essentially a dead end. Or is it? You're in this room, you look around, And as you're looking around, you see right there, there's an entrance to another cave. It's not that big, it's small, but that's probably where the centipede came from. And if you look through the walls in the cave on the other side, you see what appears to be maybe an ancient dungeon. But right before you get to that ancient dungeon entrance, you do see a shimmer of gold on the wall, realizing there appears to be a deposit of gold here. Now at this point, either way, the men say, hey, let's get out of here. Nobody wants to stay down here with you. So you know you don't want to be down here by yourself. You don't know how many more centipedes are down here. Everybody decides to run back, get to the entrance, talk to the magistrate, and let him know what's going on. If you survive that long. And that's where we're going to end it right there, folks. Thank you for coming, playing the Age of Ruin and Exploration solo play along series. I'm Don Franco 3. This is RPG Boons. I did not say anything weird, but we did see this thing glitching out kind of weird. Witching hour? I don't know. I'll leave it up to you. Until then, check out any of my videos. Hope you enjoyed this. By the way, I didn't say this, but all the PDFs are free that are at the RPG Boons tab at Don Franco 3 Games. If you're interested in Monster Conquest Pocket RPG, I have a video about that. I'll probably do a few more videos in the near future. It'll be a great gift. I played it at Gen Con. It always sells. It's a good game. Trust me. And with that being said, check out any of my other videos and see you later.